Well, hello, this is Kisma, and welcome to Kisma and the Dark Yogi. The topic for today's podcast is how the Dark Yogi almost died. He nearly drowned.
Hello, this is Nick, the Dark Yogi, and welcome to Kisma and the Dark Yogi, brought to you by SourceMovement.com. We're here for people who want to be radically authentic and courageously vulnerable. So whether you're a yoga teacher, an entrepreneur, or a leader building a tribe, we're here to get your energy and your mindset positioned for success. No more stress, no more lack of energy. It's time to lead with your full potential. Our intention is to leave the world a better place than we found it and inspire you to do the same. So hey, if this message in our podcast resonates with you, and you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to Kisma and the Dark Yogi on iTunes. While you're there, give us a rating, let us know what you think, and if you have somebody in your life that would enjoy this conversation, please go ahead and share it with them as well. If you want more information about the movement, all you have to do is go to sourcemovement.com. But for now, let's get the show started. I hope you enjoy this episode of Kisma and the Dark Yogi.
So welcome, everybody. Kisma here with the Dark Yogi, a.k.a. Nick Hansinger from Source Movement, sourcemovement.com, and we're so happy you're here. So we're going to talk about something that happened to the Dark Yogi just a few years ago that you could say was a near-death experience, definitely an experience that changed perception of life, and something that was way challenging that is pretty much applicable to all things we go through in our crazy roller coaster everyday life. So, Dark Yogi, what happened out there?
So the year was... Actually, I don't remember the exact year.
It was about, 4 years ago?
No, it was more than that. It was probably really? Maybe 5-6 years ago. I was in Costa Rica. I was on a yoga teacher training. We were doing a yoga teacher training down there, and I was facilitating part of it. And we were in Costa Rica, also off of Nosara, beautiful surf beach.
Love it.
And went down to town to hang out, play in the ocean for a while. And that's exactly what we did. Beautiful waves. And as we're out there, I'm not the strongest swimmer, right? So we're out there for, a solid 45 minutes at least, playing in big waves, as I look back on it, very surfable waves, very nice surf beach. I mean, we're playing out in the waves. We're having a good time. There's a few of us, and then a few more join, and there's a gang of 4 of us out there hanging out, playing in the waves. Really exciting, really beautiful. Costa Rica is a gorgeous place to do that.
It's so beautiful.
So nice, yeah. And we're hanging out, and there's 4 of us. So as I look around, I'm starting to feel a little bit tired. I'm not especially at the time, definitely not the strongest surfer at all, or strongest swimmer at all. And I'm looking around. There's another gentleman, very strong swimmer, another guy who's been surfing for years, and a certified lifeguard. So I'm like, okay.
You're thinking you're in good hands.
I'm feeling pretty okay.
You sort of followed the herd, but let's move on.
I did. No, we'll get to that for sure. But yeah, I definitely kind of followed the herd. I was feeling a little tired. I was feeling like, I should probably take a break. But we're out with these guys. We're having a great time.
And they're the cool guys.
In the Costa Rica. And it was like, well, I'm fine. And so we're hanging out there. We're swimming in the waves. We're body surfing. We're having a great time. And then we're hanging out, just kind of chatting. And before you know it, nobody can touch ground.
Oh, so up until this point, you could touch ground.
You could totally touch ground, yeah, because we were body surfing, and then we were kind of diving under the waves and just playing and having a good time.
And all of a sudden, you couldn't.
I look around, and then we look back towards shore, and we realize the waves are breaking behind us.
Oh.
Never a good sign. We're out past the break. Here comes the train of truth.
Train of truth. It's a character, sort of like Mr. Rogers, but we'll get back to that.
Well, something's coming, right? Yeah. The train of truth is always bringing the message. So all of a sudden we look around, and I I just knew I couldn't touch and I was tired. And we look around and I could see it, and everybody's eyes was like, uh-oh, like something's wrong.
So can you just get a little bit more detail when you look in people's eyes? Because you're treading water, there's waves, you don't have your glasses on. What really did you see?
What I saw was nobody said anything other than we should swim back. And you could just see that bit of fear in everybody's eyes. You know, it was a very much an unspoken thing. And so we start swimming, right? And not realizing it at the time, I'd never been caught in a rip. But that's now that I know what had happened is we were actually caught in a riptide. So we're actually getting pulled out and not realizing I had no clue for how that works. It's actually kind of ripping you into a circle. So you never want to swim against that. But that's exactly what we did. Strong swimmer takes off.
Oh,
No
damn
problem.
him.
He just took off, right? Then everybody else starts swimming. The lifeguard definitely starts swimming. He's way ahead of us. It's me and the surfer. We're hanging out.
And what happened to the surfer? Because you would think a surfer would be like, oh, chill, guys, it's a wave.
Well, familiar in the ocean, you know, but at the end of the day, like it's true what they say, drowning is definitely silent. It does not look like somebody out there flailing about and yelling for help. It's a silent thing. I look over in his eyes and pure panic. Like you could just see it was pure panic.
So are you saying it's silent because one's using all of their energy and resources just to stay afloat?
Just to stay afloat. And even then, you're kind of bobbing under. Now, he wasn't bobbing under yet, but when I looked in his eyes, it was pure panic and he was barely treading water. And I'm looking at him and I can't speak because, again, I'm just swimming. I'm holding my... like trying to tread water myself and make some progress, but I had to like pause and tread water because I was so tired. And that's when I looked at him and it was just like full stop.
Ugh.
And it was the most horrifying feeling for me because like I know this guy, I love this guy. And I'm like, I can't help you. And I'm looking dead in his eyes. And I know that if I go to try to help him in any way, I'm done.
You're both done.
We're both done. Like there's no question. So we're sitting there with each other, not saying a word, just kind of looking at one another and just feeling like this is serious. And I can only speak for myself and just say, just scared to death. Still can't touch. Still getting, tossed around and just not barely feeling like I can stay afloat. Like my body's really fatiguing. So then the lifeguard comes back.
Oh, thank God. How far out was he until he figured out he better get his ass back there?
Honestly, I have no idea. For all I know, he just appeared out of nowhere. Freaking guardian angel for all I know. But he came, I don't know how far back he got before he realized what was happening, but he came back. The other guy, right back to shore. But the lifeguard came back. And he comes back and he goes straight to the surfer. And he grabs him.
Who's a bit more in trouble than you.
He was definitely in a little bit more trouble than me, but, I'm there too. He grabs him, and I'm like, this is awesome. Like, here he is. He grabs him, and I'm like, shit. Like, there's nobody for me. So...
But he, as an expert, must have read it. Between the two of you, right?
Who knows? It's either that or he just grabbed the person that he was closest to.
Yeah, okay.
And he grabs him and I could see, he's held him just like, you see in the photos, he's got him. And, but what the saving grace for me was this, they start to swim. The surfer is not really swimming along. He's basically being dragged.
Okay.
Or supported in that way. But I did hear him start to coach him.
Okay.
Come on, we're gonna do the side stroke. Pick an apple, put it in the basket, and that's what I heard. Side stroke, pick an apple, put it in the basket.
Oh man.
And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like I hadn't done that stroke in like years, not an avid swimmer or anything. I'm like, okay, I remember that. So we start to do that. And then I just tracked them. So I don't know. There's a certain way that you swim basically parallel to the shore in a rip so that you don't spend all your energy
Oh, okay.
fighting against the current,
Okay.
right? Because it's a strong current. So, but I didn't know anything about that. I'm just tracking him. So
Okay.
he's there, he's dragging the surfer, and I'm just tracking, tired, so tired, right? But what the little bit of extra juice I got when he came back of like, okay, there's hope for me. Because when I thought I was going to die, my whole body was like tense and panic is setting in, and I can barely move.
Wow.
And the surfer's bobbing a bit, and that's how you know, like when somebody's really drowning, they're not flailing and yelling, they're bobbing. And so I wasn't quite doing that, but I was just getting on that verge. So finally we start swimming, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. My body relaxes just enough that I can start to like just another stroke.
You
just
have a
another
connection point.
I had a connection point. I had hope.
Yeah.
That I think more than anything is I had some hope. So we start stroke. And that was in my head. All I remember, and they actually got a little bit ahead of me. So I'm there and I'm taking a stroke and I'm like side stroke. And all I could think, the only thing I remember was just one more stroke.
Wow.
Just one more. Like, I don't know if you can make it back to shore, but you can take one more stroke.
One more stroke.
One more stroke. And it's just one more and one more. Pick an apple, put it in the basket. And so I just keep going, and I'm going. And then you hit the brake. So not only are you exhausted, not only are you in over your head, now the waves are crashing down on you.
Oh, that's lovely.
So the wave sucks you up, and then it rolls you, and it's just over. And every time you get rolled, you get pushed down, you got to get back up, and it's like then you have to keep swimming because there's still a rip there. And I'm still over my head. I still can't touch a toe. One more stroke, right? So, and that's all I could think. Like, that's all I remember the whole time. One more stroke. So I'm like, I don't know if I can make it back, but I know I can take one more stroke.
Whatever was right in front of you, you could do.
I could do that.
And that was one more stroke.
That was all I knew how to do. And the only thing I knew was what I heard him say. Side stroke.
Yeah, pick an apple.
Pick an apple, put it in the basket. And it's an efficient stroke. It's kind of like waiting, but you're making progress. So, and then you're getting rolled. And then another wave. And they keep crashing down. And every time you get crashed down, there's a little bit of a back, and then you're back and forth, and then you're right in the middle of the break. And when you're stuck right in the middle there, it's like you're just trying to get out of it so that you don't get crushed. That's a lot of weight coming down on you. And every time you're getting pushed down and rolled. And then finally, my toe touched. My head was up. Like my head and my face was up and my toe was on the ground. And I was like, oh my God. And then came another wave that crushed me. But I was like, okay, I'm close enough. And I started
crushed me because my toes touched.
At least my toe touched, right? And then I started swimming and finally I got my feet back on the ground and I just slogged my way back to the shore, like totally in shock.
Had they had lifeguard and surfer made it back before you?
Those guys made it back just before me.
Just before.
So they were a little bit ahead, but I had lost sight of them somewhere. So they were there. Strong Swimmer was on the beach for a long time, just basically like kind of watching it unfold. And I don't really know what, but there was a lesson there in that too. We'll share that in just a second because this would be a useless story without lessons. I learned so much. You learn so much from almost dying. Wow. Like really. And it's things that I've taken with me in every area of my life. So it's really been powerful for me. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. So that's why I'm kind of here to share it. At least maybe you can get some lessons out of it.
Did you ever get to the point of like dark tunnel light? Like near death, or were you just like, I'm in the 3D world and I'm just going to take another stroke?
No, I never got like that. It wasn't like I had been knocked out or anything. I was definitely consciously aware, but the world closed in so much that it really was just that one thing. Like you just do one freaking thing that you know how to do and you'll make it back. And that's really what happened.
Okay.
So lessons. Number 1.
Don't follow the herd.
Strong swim. Well, that's one. strong swimmer, not 2 nights before, had said, when trouble strikes, I'm the guy who cuts and runs.
Was strong swimmer also kind of a leader of this group?
I don't want to get into that.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was, well, yeah. So, but regardless, he's somebody that I respected, definitely. But he had said
He
exactly
stated his
that.
character.
He said it in no uncertain terms.
Repeat that again. He said.
In no uncertain terms, when trouble strikes, I'm the guy who runs. I'm the first one out.
Okay. Honesty.
Right. No, and I really appreciate that. But that was my first lesson is like when somebody tells you who they are, take them at their word. Like when somebody's that honest, that level of honesty is a rare thing.
It's true.
So I very much appreciate that in hindsight, and really on my part, like poor assessment, right? We'll get to that. That's lesson 2. But that person explained to me and was very clear about their character and how they react in situations, not 2 nights before.
Wow.
And when it happened, there was a part of me that was like, shit, like, I can't believe they just did that. And then I almost died. And there was no room to think about that anymore.
Yeah.
Right? But when I reflected on it, man, like crystal clear as day.
Yeah. Right.
This is who I am. This is what I do.
So you can't blame.
No blame. You really can't blame. Like that was totally me. And that brings me to lesson 2, which is assessment. I made a poor assessment.
Right.
And it wasn't necessarily with my swimming skills. I pretty much knew where I stood with that. It was allowing that level to feel that level of safety just because I was with what I believe to be experienced.
What you perceive to be experienced swimmers.
Exactly.
Which 2 of them were and 1 of them was not. So you got half isn't and half is.
All 3 of them were. They're all 3.
Oh, the surfer was.
Yeah,
but
of
what
course,
happened
he's
to
a
the
surfer.
surfer? He just sort of
Panicked.
Oh, man.
He panicked. Yeah, and understandably.
Yeah.
Totally
right,
get it. Yeah.
Right. He got fatigued.
Fatigued and panicked. Totally got it. But it was a poor assessment of my surroundings. And so I got blindsided by it. And like all of a sudden, that's where the phrase comes in over your head. You're in over your head, man.
Yeah.
And that was a total poor assessment of just what my surroundings were and what the actual danger was there. And the ocean's no joke.
No joke.
So that was definitely poor assessment. Big lesson.
Okay.
And then there's lesson 3 for sure was do what you can. So this one has been with me. This was probably the strongest lesson ever because especially as, building our business in Source Movement and really in so many things I've done, it always seems like there's some magical place that like when I have this, then I'll be able to do that. When I have this thing, then I'll be able to, take the next step. When I have enough money, then I'll be able to sign up for the thing that I really want that's really going to help me. Well, whatever that thing is, it's like, that's not the thing, right? You can do something right now. And you just do whatever you can do, and that is enough. It has to be enough. And it is always enough.
Right. The next stroke.
You just take the next stroke. And it's so much, too, the other piece of that is very much like, I can't see the whole vision necessarily all the time. Sometimes it's fuzzy. Sometimes I don't know where everything's are heading because it's like it's a co-creative process. You don't know how it's all going to work out. But you can do one thing right now, and you do that freaking thing, and you do it as best as you possibly can.
And I guess this is really true for if you're building a business, right? What's the next thing? If you're in a business, if you're working in a business, or what about your family or relationships? What is the next thing you can do to be more connected, more loving to the people that you love? What's the next thing you can do to take care of yourself, right? How many people don't take care of themselves? What's the next thing you can do to stay out of drama and trauma? what's the next thing you can do to elevate your own frequency and really lead by example?
It really comes down to the one thing that you can do, and you just do that. Like whatever
Over
it
and
is,
over.
as absurd as it may be. And I've seen this too I've seen it in myself, and I've seen it in our clients too, where it's like they want to, fill up an event, and they can't see how making these 10 calls is going to help them or get them there, but somehow those 10 calls lead them to the next step.
Absolutely.
So it's like you make those 10 calls. I don't care if you even know what to say. You just make the freaking calls, right? You just do the next thing. And so many times it's like you want to stop. And it's so easy to stop. But I bring it back to that, to me, that moment in the ocean where it's like, if I stopped, I would die.
Yeah.
I would literally die. And when you're connected enough to your mission and really understanding like what you're here to do, if you don't fulfill that, to me, that's like dying.
That's like a spiritual death.
It's like a spiritual death.
That's an amazing lesson. Like that's the big takeaway, right?
That's really it.
You knew if you stopped picking those apples, you were going to die.
I would die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for everyone out there who's got a purpose, a mission, whatever it is, when you stop doing that next one thing, just like one thing, it's like that purpose starts to die.
Yeah. When you stop, it dies a little bit. It loses energy and vitality. And all you need, see, so many times people think they need so much more. They need like so much more. And in truth, yes, you do need that down the road. But right now, you just need one little thing. Just do one freaking thing, and it will all be okay.
I love that. So everyone out there listening, what is the one thing you can do right now, every single day, and know that it will evolve? It will start to really present itself and unfold in this amazing, beautiful way. But do that next one thing.
Do that next one thing. Take the next stroke. Just one more stroke. Don't you dare give up.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Dark Yogi. Hey, by the way, I remembered the phone call because I was not in Costa Rica, and I get this phone call from the Dark Yogi. Well, I almost died today. And I was like, what? You should have seen me. So
I was a little afraid to tell her, to be honest.
Yeah. He was trying to like sugarcoat it. And I was like, this is not good. But you're here now. We're here now. Hey, we thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast with anybody that you think might love it, enjoy it, so we can spread the message. Download, rate us, and let us know what we can do for you. Have an awesome, awesome day. Namaste.
Namaste.